Welcome, everybody. I'm Isabelle Fish, the founder of Rue Pigalle. We are an organization for women who are lovers and patrons of craft. We believe that craft is a part of the solution to overconsumption and to all the misery of the world, because when you connect with the material, you are a happier person, a better person, and the world is a better place for it. So these conversations are part of the program that we offer to our membership. And if you are interested, for those who are not members yet, to join us, you can look at the website. We have 3 options. And it's part of our patronage activity, because we know that when we give a voice to makers and artists, we connect them to an audience that gets to know them and then supports them, follows them. And it's very important for artists and makers to share their passion. It's very much part of their creative process. Today, our guest is Mathieu Le Traon, who is a private weaver from Paris. I've known Mathieu for a few years. I've been to his studio several times. And you're going to discover someone who really has the left brain, right brain very much engaged. Mathieu is a recent weaver. He was Director of International Relations for École Polytechnique in Paris, which is one of the top universities in France. And we're going to start hearing his story from the cloth, literally, because the jacket he's wearing is where it all started. So Mathieu, welcome. It's a real pleasure to have you. I should disclose that I have commissioned Mathieu to do a piece for our son's wedding. Keep it a secret, please, but I like to declare my interest. I have enormous admiration for Mathieu, and we're working on this project together. It's wonderful, and I know that it's going to make an amazing keepsake for the kids. So, Mathieu, fabulous to have you here. Bonjour, merci d'être ici.
Bonjour, thank you so much, Isabelle, for a wonderful introduction and for offering me this opportunity to connect with the members of Rue Pigalle. It's a pleasure to have you here in my atelier and to show you around. As you said, I'm a fairly recent weaver. I used to have a career in diplomacy and higher education for about 15 years. And then I completely, I made a 180 degrees turnaround and became a weaver, so involved with material. And as you said in the introduction, I too believe that being connected with material makes you a better person, and I experience that every day. And I'm very happy to share today what I've been doing over those 7 years. I'm losing count now.
Yeah, it's a
But
very new career for you, and it's been from 0 to 200 in a very short time. So why don't we start with the cloth, as I was saying, and with the jacket that you're wearing?
Exactly. So today I'm wearing the garment that is responsible for this change of career. So it takes us back to 2016. I was in between two positions. I was transitioning from a job at École Polytechnique to another job, and I had 1 month of vacations to take. And it was in the middle of fall. It was in October, November. And I was wondering, what am I going to do with those 4 weeks ahead of me? Of course, I would go to the movies. I would relax a bit, because it was a pretty intense and stressful career that I used to have. And what I wanted to, but I thought, okay, sure, I will go to the cinema, but I wanted to do something unusual, because it's pretty seldom that in your life you have so much time with nothing planned when you're in your late 30s. So I thought I wanted to take that opportunity to do something really different, something I could tell my friends about it. So I had a few ideas. Maybe I would go to a farm, do some woofing, or something connected, something really different from the very very intellectual, very
desk job.
Desk job that I used to have. And it happened that I was interested in fashion, in men's fashion, men's style, and I had purchased this jacket. So I'm going to get a bit closer. It's a jacket. It's a tweed pattern called a herringbone, so like the chevrons. And I really enjoyed the jacket, and I thought, well, how is it actually made? Is there a way for me to find out how it is actually made and how I can can I reproduce that? And I looked for a course, a beginner's course on weaving, which I found 10 days later in the center of Brittany, in the western part of France. And I went there. It was a beautiful week, that the weather was gorgeous, but I never saw the day of light, because I spent the whole week inside the workshop. I was completely fascinated by the realm of possibilities that weaving could provide. I went there to learn how to weave a specific pattern, but along the way, I discovered that there was so much that weaving could realize. So much things that we could do with weaving, and I realized that because of the industrialization of textile making over the last 200 years, we have lost part of our textile vocabulary, because industrialization brought a lot of things, like now garments are affordable, but because of the optimization process that you have to go through in the industry, we have lost part of the complexities that weaving can actually bring. And I thought it was fascinating when I discovered all those books where the traditional patterns were compiled, so you could reproduce them, and you can do things that are now nearly impossible to reproduce with the industrial equipment. And so after that moment, also I took my new job, and I bought myself a small table loom, and I started exploring patterns, and especially I would say tweed. I had a fascination for tweed because that's where actually this interest came from, and also because I thought tweed is a very interesting type of cloth, because the purpose of tweed is to be a camouflage textiles, because it was used in the Scottish estates to dress the gamekeepers and the people who would go hunting, to blend in the scenery, to blend in nature. And so tweed is a way to translate a landscape into fabric. And I thought it was pretty powerful. And there's a very specific, let's say, textile grammar to tweed, which I wanted to explore. And so that's what I did. My first works were about trying to create specific tweeds for specific places in my surroundings, or recreate traditional tweed patterns such as Glen check or houndstooth and herringbone, of course, that kind of things. And then so I went on like that as an amateur for during 2 years or so, and then my son was about to be born. And so we were in 2018, 7 years ago. And that's when I came to realize that the first contact of the human being with the material world made by human hands, that's textiles. That's the first blanket that will wrap you. And I thought it was very, very powerful. And I consider the fact that in many cultures, um, you can, for certain events in life, you will create textiles that bear a certain number of symbols. It could be woven symbols, it could be embroidered symbols, but they will be thought as some sort of amulets or talismans to bear good luck to the person. And so when I realized that, of course, I wanted I wanted that the first cloth that would wrap my newborn baby, I wanted to weave it myself. There was no way it could be, well, it had to be that way. And so that's what I did. And I created a piece of fabric that in which I started to put symbols. I organized the pattern, the weaving, to bring messages to my soon to be born kid. And this was a very, very powerful spiritual moment. I've kept a picture of that, and so that's my little baby in his blanket. And so I played with a lot of symbols about the number 3, about being together. I intentionally left the mistakes in the weaving, because life is sometimes a rocky road. And so my son is 7 years now, 7 years old, and the wrapper is the blanket is stored away in a drawer. But each time I open the drawer and see the blanket, it brings a lot of emotion. And then that's when I thought, well, if I feel so strong about textiles, about the meaning it can carry, about the emotions it can bear and convey, I thought that maybe for other people I could do the same, try and do the same thing. And so as we said, I had that career in international relations for higher education, which meant that I had to travel a lot, to establish partnerships between my university and universities in the in foreign countries. And by that time, I was a bit tired of all the planes and the hotel rooms, and I wanted to take a moment also for Jules, that's my son's name, to be present. And that's when I went to see a few weavers, a few people who had connections in the fashion industry or the luxury industry, and I showed them my first, let's say, samples to ask them what they thought about it. And they said, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe you should pursue that. So I gave myself 1 year to teach myself further and to try and see if there could be a market for what I wanted to offer. And that's when I bought my loom, my current loom. That's a large floor loom, and I started to explore patterns and materials for a year. And after that year, I went to see more weavers, more people say, okay, should I open the a company? Shall I leave, my career for good and give it a try? And well, I was encouraged to do so. So that's how it started. And then things have unfolded.
Things took
And
off.
excuse me.
things took off then.
Yeah.
I wanted to actually, I was interested to hear that you mentioned that the tartan it's the tartan that is used to hide and to reproduce the area where you are. We were in Ottawa in February, and we met a weaver in Ottawa, a Canadian weaver,
Yeah.
who did a project of 72 different tartans to
Wow.
96 different tartans to represent the countries in the world where homosexuality is punished by death. And his
Okay.
thinking is when the tartan is to hide. So if you can, as a gay person, hide in the society where you are protected. So that was
Yeah.
his message. And he did these 96 extraordinary pieces of tartan, all
Yeah.
representing, each one representing a country that punished homosexuality by death. And I thought it was
Oh,
the
wow.
most incredible message and way to use textile to bring a message and to mix contemporary issues and tradition. That was extraordinary. So I think that,
Yeah, it is.
yeah. So you pursued, really, your thing is to put a message in the cloth, and you call
Yeah.
yourself a private weaver because you do specialize in putting people's whatever message, story, or whatever it is in the cloth. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that, because
Exactly.
you specialize in music too.
Yes, I do. So the very first work I did on my loom were so tweed inspired, and the idea was like in Scottish tweeds to translate a landscape into
Yeah.
fabric. So
And sorry, I
like
need
I
to
don't know if you're familiar with.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
sorry.
just actually need to correct myself. It was not, the word is not tartan, it's tweed. It
Yeah,
absolutely,
it's
not tartan. I
yeah, we
apologize.
can.
I can see the audience, the eyes are going like that, and I knew I was making a mistake, and I apologize. It's
No,
definitely.
they're connected, so they're very close cousins. So like this was an example of a tweed I made inspired by the Jardin du Luxembourg, Luxembourg Gardens in Paris, with a water shimmering on the pond, you know, where the kids push their little sailboats. So here, these were really my first type of work. Or there's an island off the French Atlantic coast called Ray Island, which is a really beautiful place. And I thought, what could be a tweet for that place that I love, which is where you have very quaint houses, and it's so that's the kind of research I was doing then. And then tweed, like tartan, that's a specific grammar, okay, with specific ways of weaving, including twill, including houndstooth, including lines, checks, plate patterns. And at some point, I thought, well, maybe we could give to those lines a more literate, a more literal meaning. You know, maybe they could make sense beside just being representative of a specific color in the landscape. Maybe we could give something, and that's how I started to develop my messages thing. Maybe just before that, I would like to emphasize something that I didn't mention, is that I decided very early on to specialize in wool and precious woolen fibers like cashmere, alpaca, yak, well, every type of mammal with hair good enough for spinning, because I discovered that the tactile variety of woolen fibers is infinite, and it's very rich. It's very deep. There are a lot of subtleties because depending on the breed of the sheep, depending on where the sheep were bred, depending on the spinning techniques, you reach a very wide palette of tactile experiences. And I need to turn this around. So like here, this is typically what you will see here are all materials that I like to work with. So this would be a yak, for instance. This would be a merino wool and cashmere, other types of cashmere. And that's really my passion goes really to those to those fibers. That I'm really working on the tactility of things. So when let's talk about the messages that I like to put in the in my work. So if you, so I will need to move things around so you can see. So this from afar looks like a nice plaid shawl, okay, with lines both ways, creating those checks. But if you look closely, you will see that the pattern never repeats, you know, and the lines, they appear pretty random. And actually, they are not random. There is a structure. So the way I organize the fabric is meant to convey a specific meaning. So I will show you in detail how that works. Let me put it on the table
Mathieu,
and bring you. Yep.
we have two questions before we go into detail.
Sure.
Yvonne is asking, which fiber did you choose for your infant's receiving blanket?
Yes.
And CA, I'm not sure who that is. Do you spin the wool yourself? Do you dye your own wool?
Okay. So for my son, I used a cotton because I wanted to be really, really smooth and hypoallergenic. So I wanted to make sure that everything was fit for a baby, you know, to on bare skin. And I do not spin nor dye my wools. That would be too time consuming in a process that is already very time consuming. So what I do, I actually work with two types of fibers. Let me show you here. So the first type of fibers would be like these. These cones are cashmere from the Scottish or the Italian spinning industry. They are very high quality. So the cashmere goats are raised. They're bred in Mongolia or China, but the best cashmere yarns in the world come from Italy, or even better, to my taste, Scotland. So that's one category of yarns that I use. They come from luxury mills, mostly in Scotland and in Italy. There is another type of yarns that I like to use that is represented on these panels here. So this is a yarn that comes from a breed of sheep called Wensleydale that is bred in Yorkshire, England. And it's pretty representative of my taste for let's say niche spinning mills that are very much connected to a specific breed of sheep, like this one that is considered as an endangered breed, or that are connected to a specific territory, like the Shetland Islands, or like some very specific part of France, or from a specific island in Scotland, in Sweden. That's the kind of thing I like to be an explorer of fibers and discover the variety of the tactile things. Actually,
Don't you have one also from Canada, from the great north of Canada?
I do. Like if you see, like this piece here is a sample I wove this sample for a project I'll tell you about a little bit later. And I've been using 16 different types of yarn, and I can tell precisely for each yarn where it comes from, what kind of animal was involved in the production. And actually, there is this one, this very shiny one. This one comes from a community in Nunavut, in northwest of Nunavut, a very isolated community where people collect the down of musk oxen. They live their village is close to the Arctic's biggest herd of musk oxen, and every year in May, June, the oxen shed their down that gets so that you can find it on the bushes or on the rocks, and so the people collect the down. It's one of the warmest fibers in the world, and they have it spun in Calgary, and then it's sent back to their community, and they mostly they knit mittens or hats. And at that time, I had to go to the Canadian embassy in Paris to facilitate the exchange, because it was a bit difficult to purchase directly from those from that community. Now I think it's facilitated. And so, yeah, I'm very, very happy to say that I'm weaving this wonderful fiber, which is called piviot, which means down, I believe, in the Titot. And yeah, it's always very fun to discover a new fiber and explore what can be done with it. So, but I'll tell you, I'll go back to this piece in a moment, because it's an example of my music series. So if I go back to the whole let's say message weaving, the encoding or encryption thing, so I can show you this piece, and so let me turn the sorry. Let me, oh, sorry. All right. So if you look at this piece, you will see, if you look from left to right, you will notice that there are some light areas and darker areas, light, dark, etc. And in each of these areas, if you follow the direction of the diagonal of the twill, you will notice that sometimes the diagonals are short, sometimes they're long, long, short, and then we change the color, short, 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 long, short, short, long, long, short, short, etc. And those rhythms are not random. Those are rhythms of the International Morse code. So it's a code where each letter of the alphabet is transcribed by a series of short and long signals. It could be sound signals, it could be light signals, and I made them textile signals. And this way, if I go back to it, so here it starts dot dot. That's I think I have, yeah. Like this is, for instance, this is how we would weave the word Paris. The short, long, long, short, short, long, short, long, short, etc. So here, what I did in this piece, I wove the word inspiration across the width and across the length. Across the length, I wove a quote by the aviation hero Amelia Earhart, who said, "There's more to life than being a passenger." And you see, in this piece, we have a very, I think, talks to me, very powerful message, but it's not in plain sight. Oops, sorry. It's not in plain sight, but it's embedded, it's enshrined within the piece of textile. And again, the tactility, it can be a bit frustrating for me, and I guess for you too, not to be able to touch. But so I'll try to do it for you. But you see that the fluidity, you see, that's something I really work on achieving, a quality of a tactile quality that is very important in my work. And so in almost every piece that I weave, I try to combine three levels, or three, yes, let's say three levels of emotion: a graphic emotion, a tactile emotion, and also a sentimental or intellectual, depending on the people, emotion. And I'm really, for every piece that I weave, I really try to have the three together. Emotion, so three emotions: visual, tactile, and sentimental. Yeah.
And then,
So I weave. Yeah.
sorry. No,
Sorry.
finish.
No. Please go ahead.
So this, I mean, it's very much your motto is to communicate this emotion, and it's to exchange with the person who is going to receive or wear that. And the way you communicate that, you showed a little bit earlier this card, which I think is really fantastic tool to not only to share the story, but to pass it on and to it's a wonderful keepsake. And I think that often I'm a little surprised that artists and makers don't have more information to give to the person who's buying the piece from them,
Yeah.
to really share their message. I guess some artists or makers decide that, you know, each user receiver can put her own story in it and it becomes part of the piece. But personally,
Yeah.
as a collector and acquirer, I always like to have that because I like to go back to it. And when I read again the artist statement or how she made it, or, you know, it really binds me. So I think it would be great if you could share what you give with each piece.
Exactly. So for each piece, I give a card. I call it the passport, that will explain how to decipher the code. So for instance, let's say, let's take a musical one. So for instance, so it goes like this. You have a little explanation on how the piece was created and how to start reading it. I give the Morse code when it's woven in Morse, or I also use some other types of code. So I give the information, and for every private, because I have an activity, so I create my own collection, but I also weave for people who commission on me, and for commission, but I also create a private web page. I'm going to show you. So I create a private web page on which I document the whole process. Of course, that's when you need to make the demo that it doesn't work. That's a classic. And the idea for me is to share not only the design part, but also the whole making. Because what I like about weaving, and I'll show you my loom in a moment and show you how it works. There is a very physical engagement, and that's what I like about it, because for me, weaving is actually dancing. It's a dance that I perform on my loom, and it's hard. It's really physical, and I like that I'm producing something out of both my intellectual and physical efforts. I think it really nourishes the whole piece. So for the commissions, what I do, so this is a piece I wove for a lady who commissioned a music piece, and I'm going to show you an example soon. And see, for her, I designed a piece with all explanations about how I encoded geographic location of a place, type of music that I wove, and then I showed, like, yeah, I'm not a robot. Well, oh, come on, first time this. Well, oh no, sorry. Well, you have to believe me. There are some videos that show the process up to the final unrolling of the process, because I really want to take the people with me into the process, and that's something I really this also takes time, but that's something I'm really really want to do, because that's part of the story of the whole piece. That's part of the story also of the relationship between the person who commissions a piece from me, and so I want to, yes, to keep track, to keep to keep that. That's all part of the emotion being put in the work. So I just, yeah.
You recently also had a project. So these projects are very personal and emotional and all that, but it's hard to make a living just of those. So you managed to engage with some very high-end luxurious brands and
Yes.
find a middle ground, excuse me, a middle ground between working in a commercial context and at the same time bringing that personal touch and that emotional connection.
Yep.
Can you talk about that? Because again, I think there's, from a business model point of view, this is
Yep.
a wonderful way for an artist or a maker to develop a practice.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly 2 years ago, I was contacted by a brand, luxury cosmetics brand called La Prairie. You may have seen their products in airports, typically. And they wanted to create a series of shawls, travel shawls, to reward their most valued clients in North America and Asia. And they wanted to do something very specific. Well, they came with a few ideas, and what was very interesting in the process is that we managed to meet their expectations, all the while respecting my own artistic approach of weaving. And what we created is this. I have an example here, so let me. Oops. So what I created here were these long, wide, very pure white 100% cashmere scarf. So that's something that's very very enveloping. And so from afar, it's a beautiful plain white scarf, but actually I used my Morse weaving hack, if I may say so. And if you look closely, maybe I can see here, so we played with shades of beige, very, very subtle shades. And here you see it goes short, long. So at each end of the shawl, I wove the initials of the final client who would be gifted this really, really luxurious, like, this is this is a cloud really that you put on your shoulders. It's wonderful. And it was a very interesting commission, because it was not just about weaving something, a nice luxury piece of luxury fabric. It was really about sending a message for the company that they care for their clients. They care so much that they would gift them with a gift that nobody else would have, because every single one of those 40 shawls that I wove is personal.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
And
did
so,
you
yeah.
reach out to them, or from a business model point of view, did you reach out to them, or did they find you, or how did the connection happen?
So they found me thanks to a company that makes connections between luxury houses and artisans like myself to create very specific, very one-of-a-kind projects, small-scale projects that they couldn't do on a with the industrial equipment they work with. And they were also, La Prairie was also interested in highlighting the work of and or the crafts,
Yeah.
and they were, they were very, very decent in a way they approached that, because very early on they told me that our they would pretty actively promote the collaboration, and they created a leaflet. If you can see it here, a leaflet where both our names are present. Also on the labels, both the La Prairie and Atelier Le Traon are present. So it was it's very strong. I think it's the beginning of a shift in the industries, in the luxury industries mind.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, a lot of luxury houses will commission pieces to craftspeople, but they will never give the name of the people who work for them. And I think more and more craft people have find it difficult to work that way. I mean, I came out of a very interesting and pretty powerful career. It's not to be in the shade of
Yeah.
however prestigious that shade,
Yeah.
but somebody who says, okay, we'll put our two names together, I think that's was worth the career change. No, I wouldn't do it elsewhere. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
maybe if I were 25 years old, I would, but no, not now. That's
No, but I think, I think that it's one of my pet peeves is these luxury houses that um, use the talent and the research of individual makers
yeah.
and artists and refuse to recognize them. We had a similar conversation with Nathalie Seyé-de-Jean, whom you might know. She's in Paris and she works with straw, and she does the most
Yeah.
exquisite work in straw. And Louis
Yeah.
Vuitton had ordered from her, I don't know, 30 handbags, a bit like yours, to reward their top 30 clients. I mean, every handbag was something like 100,000 euros. And she said, I'll do it, but I want my name to be recognized. And when you're going to do the marketing and all that, I want my name to be there. And they refuse. And lucky for them, her husband is a copyright lawyer and IP lawyer. So
Yeah.
they just fought. And because she's the only one to have spent the last 30 years developing that technique and getting better at it and getting to excellence, they were stuck. I mean, they had nowhere else to go. So eventually they did. But I really think that it
Okay.
doesn't matter whether you are, at the beginning of your career or, at the end or wherever, your work
Mhm.
it belongs to you and it has to be acknowledged. And it's one of my pet peeves. So good for you for having that done. And I think that it's
Yeah.
wonderful that in France in particular, there are
Yeah.
more and more agencies, not a lot, but there are several agencies that connect the luxury maison to maître d'art to métier d'art. I think it's one way to keep it together, and it's a different model from the Chanel model that buys the atelier, which is wonderful because they keep them live, but then cuts them off completely from the real world. So both business models are important. So good for you. Well done.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, I had I was one of the nice encounters that I did along the way. Another one, and I'm thinking because it's just in front of me. Let me show you. See these chairs here. So this was also a commission, but that one was by the French government, who commissioned. Well, they asked artists to work with a piece of furniture that they have in the official collections of the French government. And it's not necessarily very precious furniture, because sometimes just to furbish, like, embassies or ministries and desks, offices. And so they had that. They asked 30 designers and artists to work on these, and we were free to do whatever we wanted with those. So I was given 2 chairs, and what I did is I created a very long, a bit tartan-like uh, piece of fabric. Let me show you. So like this one. See, where it never repeats. It was a 6 meter long, and the pattern is never repeating. And I, because I had that couple of chairs, I chose to weave a text that is the first article of the Declaration of Human Rights, because for me, chairs were a symbol of a dialogue. Because when you're sitting, usually you don't fight, even if this has proven wrong recently. And so I worked with my upholsterer to create those chairs that were exhibited in a museum in Paris. And that was also a very nice occasion that I had to expand a little bit my work. And I had some fabric left, so I did this mirror also.
Good.
To
I'm mindful that we have about 10 minutes left, and I think that I know that we have several textile artists on the call, and they would probably love seeing you weave. So can we do that?
Yes. Yeah, sure. Just maybe before that, before I forget, I have to talk to you about music, because I weave music,
yes.
and that's one of my great passions. So it's a very simple principle, weaving music. So it gives this type of very diverse, very how to say. Once again, it looks very random, but it's a very, very dynamic pattern. So what I do is that I weave, I give to each color of the of a score, I give a color to each note. And then once I have decided that a quarter note would be, I don't know, like 16 threads, then from that I can calculate every length of note. And I just put the score on my loom. You may see that on my website or Instagram. I put the score on my loom, and I just weave what I read. And so I do things like this. So this is one of my so I give, you see here, I make all the calculations. So how many times do we see the notes A and B and C and D? And then I give to each note the color. So it gives me an idea of the main atmosphere of the piece. And I just go along, and that's very long. That's a long process. It implies a lot of calculations, but it's really something I enjoy to do. So today I only have these pieces to show you, because most of my work, the music pieces, are now being exhibited in Boston in a gallery. So you might like to see it there. It's called
Yeah,
Mobilia Gallery in
Galerie
Yeah,
Materia. It's a wonderful gallery
lovely.
in
Yeah,
Boston, Galerie
yeah.
Materia.
It's in Cambridge. It's
Yeah.
wonderful, and I have so. I haven't shown you
So
my loom. Here it is.
what is the music of the piece you just showed us? What is the
This
tune?
one is, oh, you see all it's very blue and red. That's the music of the French can by Offenbach. You know
Okay.
the etc. And at the beginning of each piece, you see here those lines. So in between those two white lines, I weave every color in the order of the music scale. Okay, and the G note, the sol, is a little bit wider than the others. So that would be this blue one here. And so you know that this red here is a and B, etc. And then I weave according to what I think. Okay, and if you see something like this, like well, I have two threads that alternate. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, that's how I make like a B flat. So I weave one thread of A and one thread of B, and that's my B flat or A sharp. That's how I do it. So this is the loom. Let me put some light because I think it will be better like this.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
almost 8 o'clock for you, so which is
Yeah. So it's
still daylight.
so is it enough light?
Yes, it's great.
So I don't know how familiar you are all with with a loom, but basically, what weaving is the way to interlace two sets of yarns. The vertical ones here is called the warp, and the warp is installed on the loom. See, it goes back there, and this is the end of the warp. I'm almost done with this work, and that's the way the warp will be rolled up that beam, and then it will unrolled as the cloth gets done. And the other set of yarn that crosses the warp is called the weft. Okay, and the way you can remember which is the weft goes right to left. Okay, and the weft is put through the warp with these shuttles. Okay, so I have my weft yarn here, and what I do when I weave is that I separate the warp threads here. So pushing on these pedals, some of the threads of the warp will be pushed down. This will create an opening here through which I will throw the shuttle. Okay. So let me show you how this works. So before that, it's a very intricate thing. And the reason, and that's also something that's important to say, what I do on this manual loom are things that could not be done with the industrial equipment because that would require too much time. It's too much, the industry, to make it cheap, has to make it optimized. And the way they would dress the loom, they would organize the weaving, has to be optimized, and because of that, it cannot really reproduce what I can do. I tried to work with weavers, with industrial weavers, and I had to adjust my designs to fit their optimization needs. So it's important for me to mention that I do this on the loom not out of nostalgia, but because it actually allows me to do things that could not be produced in another way. Okay, and so it's a very intricate way because one of the first steps, if you see here, so each individual warp thread has to be connected to one of these shafts here through this tiny eyelet here. So let's take
We can't quite
this one
see your
here.
hand there.
Can you see? Oh, yeah, sorry.
There we go. That's
Right
better.
here.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you see here, so the way I connect this individual thread to the whole loom mechanism is that I slam through this eyelet here. The eyelet is part of this vertical string. It's called a heddle, and the heddle is on the shaft. Okay, and then the shaft will be pulled down. So this one. Okay, and so each so all the threads that are connected to this shaft will be at a pull down. Okay, so and the way are organized the warp thread, so the geometry of the warp thread on the loom, and then the way that the sequence with which I will pull them, this will create the pattern. Okay, so you
We have
may
a question, which I think is the
sure.
right time for it, from Elaine. How many harnesses do you use on your loom to make your work? And what type of loom are you weaving on?
Okay, so this is a loom by the Louet. Louet company is a Dutch company that's very much present in North America, the North American market. And this one is a 8 harness loom. It allows a certain degree of complexity. It could be more complex, of course. The more harnesses you have, the more complexity you get. But I wanted it to be easy to handle. So if you see here, it's only powered by my own energy. So everything works with a pedals. I cannot see. Maybe should I put here? Yeah, there are some treadles here, and I have 10 treadles. So this allows a fairly good amount of patterns. And if I had to have more harnesses, I would need to work with a form of either mechanical or computer assistance, which would require a lot of programming. And because in my patterns, the pattern never repeats, I would need to program all 1,600 threads of the weft before I can start weaving, and that's something I'm not willing to do, really. So I'm designing patterns that I can master with this type of loom. Is that a good answer to your questions? Oh, hello.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank
yeah. And yeah, so just to show you what I like also about weaving is the physical engagement. So this is actually a work. This is a real work. It's not demo. So here, this work is pretty. Yeah, here. This work is pretty narrow because I'm working on a sample of tweeds inspired by the city of Paris. But there's a thing about having the right movement, performing the right dance to achieve the right the right pattern, to achieve the right thing. And this is my first time ever with a physical work that implies physical effort, and also a lot of hand and feet, a lot of body coordination. And I really compare weaving to dancing. It's really a choreography, because that's the choreography will directly translate into the fabric. And I've learned, and I was a bit dumbstruck when I found that out, because it was so new to me, that if you perform a beautiful gesture, if the gesture is perfect, then the piece will be perfect. There's a direct connection between the elegance of the movement and and the beauty of the piece. And that's I think that's pretty powerful. And by elegance, I don't mean like I'm not I'm not making things complicated, but just the purity, just enough, but the right movement, the right dance will bring the right fabric. And that's something that is very very satisfying. It's
But
very satisfying.
it's a beautiful way to end this this conversation,
Which will lead me to my big reveal that you will be the first one to hear. So I've been a weaver for about 7 years in Paris, and I will be soon a weaver in Canada. I'm relocating to Montreal this summer, so I'm crossing the pond. It's a family expatriation. My husband works for the French railroad company, and Canada will have a high-speed train in a few years, and so we are coming to Canada to help with that beautiful project. So
we are so delighted. We're so lucky. We are so lucky. It's going to be amazing, amazing.
Oh, thank you. So I'm very glad to come to Canada.
Yeah, you already have a group of fans here in Canada, that's for sure. So
thank you. I do appreciate, and yeah, I hope you can come visit in Montreal once I'm settled there. I'll have a home studio, and we'll be very happy to welcome you there and show you my work and allow you to touch my work, because I know how frustrating it can be.
Yeah, no, we will engineer.
Yeah.
We absolutely will engineer getting together. We actually started doing more trips in Canada. For those who don't know, we're actually going to Montreal from April 30, Montreal and Quebec City, April 30 to May 4th. There's still spots on the trip. If you are interested, it's going to be a great 4 days. We are visiting 2 weavers, actually. One is a weaver. Actually, here is an interesting story. I was in Marrakesh 2 days ago, and I was visiting a local weaver. And as I walked in her studio, her name is Soumeya Jalal. As I walked in her studio, I saw that she had a Leclerc loom, and the Leclerc loom are made in Quebec. And I said, how come you have a Canadian loom? She says, well, they are the best. And I learned to weave in Montreal with, is it Catherine Lemieux? I can't remember her first name. And a weaver from Montreal, whom we were trying to connect with to go and visit her. So here you are. It's almost like there was a thread between Marrakesh and Montreal. And we have now connected with her. Taylor, can you remember the name of this artist?
It's Louise Berube.
Louise Berube, Lemieux Berube, yes, of course. Anyway, I mean, that's an amazing story. So I now have samples from Soumeya in my bag to take back to Louise in Montreal in about a month's time. So that really was a lovely story. So we'll certainly connect with you, and we are organizing more trips to make connections with Canadian artists and makers. So you will be on the next one, that's for sure.
I'll be happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mathieu, and thank you everybody for joining us from all over the place, all over the world. The conversation has been recorded, so we will share it with you again, and you can watch it again, you can share it. If you're not receiving our newsletter, maybe you'll consider signing up. We send it from time to time, and even better, maybe you want to join the community, so you too can become patrons. There's low engagement level if you don't want to, very high if you do. but just listening to an artist and a maker and sharing their story with your friend is a form of patronage. So we'll be very happy to have you. Thank you, everybody. This is our actually last online conversations teaching circle of the season. We run those in the winter month from October to April. Taylor and I are working on the program for next year. So we will share that with you. We have a lot of textile artists in our membership, and we are going to give them a voice through these stitching circle conversations. Yvonne is one of them. She's online today, and then Tracy and Karen, and I can't see. I know that Christine is an avid embroiderer. Someone called François, but I don't know you. So if you're an artist, you are welcome. It's great to have such a diverse community. So keep an eye on the program of events. We'd love to see you again. Have a great weekend, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Merci.